It's the Growler with PD and J. Here to analyze for you today. From Growler Bet to Jay's got stats. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Growler Podcast.
All right. Welcome into the latest edition of PD&J on the Growler. Paul Jr., Jay Morrison, here with you on a Tuesday. And C was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup at a deli.
I mean, I'm happy to do this pod usually, but I'm a little disappointed. I'm going to have to take my eyes off of Twitter and just seeing you whip the fan base into a frenzy with your reporting today. Don't shoot the messenger, people.
I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do it. I there's a line that I go by a modern legendary poet, Andre 3000, who says, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Don't want to be it, but it's needed. So what have you? Thank you, Andre, for those words of wisdom that I feel like I have to live by today. That keeps playing in my head. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I understand. I feel the pain. I know everybody wants heads to roll and wants change and wants to feel something different. I just don't know that I can deliver that. I'm just trying to deliver you what I know as we go into this portion of the program. That said, we will talk about that and much more today. Mo Egger will join us to talk a little bit more about the emotion that comes along with an idea that Zac Taylor and Duke Tobin will both likely be back, one far more likely than the other. And sort of everything that stirs up in terms of the history around here and what it means for the future and why none of that is what is on the top of his mind. So I'll get to that with a conversation with Mo in a little bit, and we will go through the news. Jay will have stats, of course. We have Growler Bet results, and we will also, in ARBIES, I want to give a few special shout outs from our incredible live show that went off at BetMGM before the Bengals-Ravens game, which was so much fun.
All those people were so excited. They had no idea they were about to walk into seats covered in snow. They had a nice, warm, toasty morning tailgating with us, and then boom.
Look, could have just stayed in BetMGM and Tom's Watch Bar and had drinks and a great time and enjoyed your company of friends and watched the game from there and left as much as you want. Sometimes that's the right move. Sometimes that's the right move. Maybe that won't be the case the rest of the season. Let's I do want to thank everybody again for going out. We'll be back. Our next live show is before the Arizona game. We may have to do a second airing of grievances after the last one, but I do want to thank everybody that showed up. It was just incredible to see, and we'll be giving more stuff away, including tickets. If you still want them, maybe we shouldn't give away tickets. I feel like people still want them, but we have lots of stuff to give away. And if you're in misery, it loves company. If you just still always enjoy going to the Bengals games, then we enjoy having you. Either way, no matter how you're feeling, we always accept you here, no matter what. So we hope to see you at BetMGM before the game against the Cardinals. We'll be in there same way, 10, 11. Hanging out, talking about the team, giving stuff away, having a little party before the game. So we hope to join us. Stay warm. Hang with us. All right, let's get into the news. I'll start with the smaller news, and before we get into the bigger topic, and that's kind of got confirmation on something that we probably assumed, and that is that Joe Burrow is expected to start the last 3 games of this season, despite the Bengals being eliminated. Jay, thoughts on sort of the confirmation of the direction that it looked like this was headed?
Yeah, it makes sense. Number one, the as much as fans might want them to lose for a better draft pick, the coaches and the players are never going to have that mindset. They're going to try to win every game they step on the field. That gives you the best chance of winning, as Zac Taylor said, by playing Joe Burrow. He looks fine. As remarkable as it was that he came back as fast as he did from the surgery, he's out there scrambling and taking off and running for gains and sliding down, and it doesn't seem to be bothering him at all. So there's no physical reason not to play him, and and he's said it over and over. Every rep you get is valuable, and I do think that it's important for him to be out there. I don't know how much momentum you can carry over from one season to the next, but this team needs to win games, and that gives them the best chance. I was not surprised at all when Zac said that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Burrow wants to play. They want to win games. They feel like it's always important to win a game. That's another, organizational tenet around here, right? It's there is no such thing as a meaningless game. They are trying to win all of them. In all weeks to be reminded of that. The Bengals are going to play a meaningless game in Miami, where never has that topic ever been more front and center than it was a few years ago when the Burrow Bowl happened in Miami at this time. And it was known that winning games matters around here. And there never wants to have a feeling that that you're not trying to go out there and win. And if Burrow's healthy and can play, then that's what's going to happen. And that is what's going to happen right now. Let's get more into the the news that I have to apologize for, I guess. I have a piece up on The Athletic today. Please go read it. I know everybody is sitting here with the idea of, okay, what's going to happen? Bengals were eliminated on Sunday. What is going to happen? The big question, Zac Taylor, Duke Tobin specifically, who's going to pay for this, so to speak, right? And that's been a question that we've discussed here at length, and I sort of just went where this is at right now. There are still 3 games left. They sit down at the end of every season. I mean, they talk every week in terms of, everybody. Zac Taylor, Duke Tobin, the family, Mike, like they go through it every week. And so there's a feel for probably where all of this stands from everybody involved. But that doesn't mean that when the season ends, there's not still, remember Marv Watch, Jay? Like it would be,
yes.
There's a conversation, a final conversation that is had when the season ends. And so until that happens, nothing is cemented 100%, obviously. But you can have a pretty good feel for where things are going to go. And for what we have right now, Duke Tobin's going nowhere. I know that people, we've talked about cracks in the foundation and that there's certainly never been more external pressure or, exposing of frustration directed at Duke Tobin. We've never seen it to this level, like it's risen the last couple of years, but internally that's just not really a thing. It's just not going to happen. Duke Tobin is going to be here. He's going to continue be the de facto GM running the department. And in terms of Zac Taylor, he very much feels safe here. That again, things can happen, and there's a variable here of how is the defense viewed. I think is the variable that's at play here is who's at fault, what happened with the defense, and what is the best way to fix it? Is it to stick with Al Golden, which I don't think that there's any desire to blow Al Golden out. It's the coordinator's fault again. That doesn't sound like that is something that is, how they feel or want to scapegoat again. And honestly, like that, it feels kind of silly to even do, almost more ridiculous to blow a coordinator out again 2 years in a row like that. So that's basically where it stands. Zac Taylor looks very likely to probably return. There's going to be questions about what happened on defense and the direction to go forward. That's the variable that remains here.
Yeah. And I mean, the organization loses some credibility in doing this. I mean, how many times can they sit up there and say, this is unacceptable, what's happening this year? And by definition, you are accepting it if you don't make any changes. And that if they're going to stick with Duke, which as you said, they are, we all know that, you can't in good conscience fire Al. then you're saying that it's all on Al, none of it's on Duke. I don't know anybody believes that, even in the organization. I think the fingers are pointed at Duke. They just don't want an outside voice making those decisions. And, as your story said, he's as close to family as you can get without actually being blood. It just, I don't know that it's ever going to change. I don't know how. Maybe, yeah, there'll be a coaching change at some point. There'll be a coordinator change at some point. But Duke, it feels like it's a lifetime job. And as long as he wants to be here, he's going to be here. And it's gotten worse. He had some really good drafts. The last few have been really bad. And it's not just the drafts; it's the approach in free agency and how they screwed that up by drawing T and Jamar out for so long. And that's not just Duke; that's the entire front office not getting contracts done when they're pretty much there's a framework there. You just finalize it, get it done, and move on with the next step in the offseason. So there's tons of blame to go around, but it's up to Bengal fans. You can scream and yell about it all you want, but you have to come to grips with the fact that it's never going to change. So is it unacceptable to you, or are you going to accept it? And are you going to accept still being a fan of this team, or are you going to say, no, this is enough, and give up your season tickets and give up your fandom?
And I'm sure there's going to be a view that the same people can enact change. And I know that that's not something that anybody wants to see or hear from Bengals fans who are just like, no, I'm done with it. I want new people at the top. There's going to be an idea of, approach things differently, be more actually aggressive, not just say you're going to be aggressive. And it's, are you expecting different results? Doing things the exact same way is going to be what people are going to yell. I get it. I'm just saying there's going to be a thing of you can approach things differently with the same people is probably what's going to be the messaging here. If there's really no other messaging that exists, if you're bringing everybody back. And I think there's a way of saying it's unacceptable without necessarily blowing out the top people. But I understand, because last year it was unacceptable and Lou Anarumo lost his job, right? And that was part of it being unacceptable. And this year it's unacceptable and nobody of the top people lose their job. Well, maybe there are changes that happen within how they operate. I don't know. I'm not here to explain that part yet. I'm just trying to take the temperature for you guys of where things stand. And I'm sorry. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be the one to do this. One other news nugget that did come out of this is news that, because it kind of had gone the other way, is that Zac Taylor actually has 2 years left on his contract. Not one. He had, the team had announced that he got a 5-year extension after the Super Bowl year. He also got a 5-year extension after the AFC Championship year. It just never really became a big thing. And so he has 2 years left, which is probably not as much of a data point as people want it to be, but it is one. I mean, it's not like it's not, because, I go back to the last Marvin Lewis year, so much talk about him being a lame duck was, playing out the last year of his contract. This is when the changes kind of come. It's more of a signal of change being close when there is someone who is going into the last year of their contract around here. It's just the way things are tipped. It doesn't mean that they can't be fired before that or changes can't happen. It's just that is more of a symbol of the fact that they could be near or a change could happen. And that was the way it went down with Marvin. At the end of that contract, they walked away and both sides moved on and the Bengals hired Zac Taylor after that. So it's an important thing to remember. I don't know that it's like some massive thing here, but it is a change from what has been the common thought out there.
It's another example of the way this team does things ass backward. Where else in the NFL would you go to back-to-back AFC Championship games and have a franchise record 10-game winning streak and extend your head coach and don't tell anybody? Like, every team would announce that we're extending, we're giving him another extension. It's really, really odd that they announced the first 5-year extension after the Super Bowl. They're proud. Look what Zach did. We're behind him. And then yeah, it's disappointing that you lose in the AFC Championship game, but nobody's going to say, "Oh, you're giving him an extension after you lost a game." That would have been a something that I think every team in this league would have announced. If you give a coach an extension after a year like this, then that's something that you want to keep hush hush. But doing it then, it just it doesn't make sense why they wouldn't want to publicize that. And it is important because, like you said, when you go into that lame duck year, if you don't get the extension, it's kind of a declaration that this is do or die. You know, you either perform this year or you're gone, and that this could be the conversation next year, or it's another bad year in 2026, and then they let Zac go into 2027 as a lame duck. It just feels like it's going to keep going in this regard for a while. I mean, I don't know it's going to be a Marvin tenure, but it doesn't seem like they are in any hurry to make any kind of changes. And again, that's something Bengal fans have to come to grips with. That's the way your team operates. Do you still want to be a fan?
Yeah. And we'll see what the fallout ends up being. And maybe it's enough that things change. Like I said, there's 3 games left.
Yeah.
The big conversation and it being about where to go in terms of fixing a defense and you know, all the dynamics of that are in that story. I would love for you to go read it. I don't know, maybe you're like, I can't, but it's I try to lay it out in there to be as clear of where this stands. I know this is the biggest thing that has been on people's mind, and so just try to lay it out as to where we know that it stands right now. And so yeah, here we go. It goes forward, and we'll keep doing it, and we're here for you, and we will, you know, continue to request to speak to Duke Tobin and continue to do all of those things that we have done here and try to get answers that you guys feel like you want, and we'll do our best. It's all we can do is keep making requests and keep asking the questions and trying to be giving you the answers of what's going on so that you can know. All right. On that note, let's flip forward here for a second. It is now time for the Camargo Insurance Run, Pass, or Boot. There's our guy, Josh from Camargo Insurance, the judge and jury of Run, Pass, or Boot this year. You know him. He has been a long-time Growl Pal, and you send your Run, Pass, or Boot questions to him, Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. Or if you want to have insurance that you or your small business can trust, you can also email him. When you work with Josh at Camargo, it's a true concierge experience. There's no fluff. It's one-on-one help from somebody who gets it. And Josh is not your average agent. He is a certified insurance and risk professional who helps business owners protect what they've built and plan for what's next. So if you own a small business, reach out to Josh and assure you have peace of mind that you have the best insurance available. He works with the best carriers in the industry. He can find the perfect coverage for your home, auto, business, or life insurance needs for you, for your small business, whatever you need. He's trying to empower you to live your best life with confidence, knowing that your coverage makes sense. And he gave away 2 tickets to Bengals Ravens. I don't think I thought I was hoping that we would see our guy that won the tickets through Josh. But I think he might have been in the crowd of people trying to get in there at the end because it was cold. But we had so much love for everybody that came. I didn't end up seeing them, but I do know that the tickets were delivered, and so Josh is here to give back to you, and he also is here to give you a Run, Pass, or Boot. So the Run, Pass, or Boot this week, the winner this week comes from. Let's see, he picked one from James Lindenschmidt. Thank you, James. This one, Jay. If you can only keep one of Duke Tobin, Zac Taylor, and Al Golden, who you keeping? Truth serum, Jay. You can only keep one. Fun question. Not based in reality, but fun.
Yeah, and at first you're thinking, "Oh, that's hard," and then like, no, that's not hard at all. I'm running with Zac Taylor because I'm booting Duke to the moon. I mean, that's the change that needs to happen. And I just don't think that Al's the problem. Al's problems this year was the players that Duke gave him. And just like Lou, it was kind of time for a change after all those years. Nobody thought he forgot how to coach. Nobody in their right mind thinks Al Golden has forgotten how to coach. And so after 1 year, that doesn't make sense. So but again, you're not gonna get rid of Zac and keep Al after 1 year. And 1 year, there's no way Al could be your top pick here, is what I'm trying to say. So I think I have to run with Zac. I'll pass on Al, and again, I'll boot Duke.
Yeah, I just think for the sake of seeing something different, I'm with you. I would run with Zac Taylor, pass Al Golden, and boot Duke. Just for the sake of, let's see something different here, right? It's almost like who's been here the longest. Maybe we should be running with Al. If you're just going to go by tenure of like, just who's been here the longest, where you can see what something different looks like, just because we've seen a lot of the errors in personnel here for multiple years in a row. I don't know any of these that are necessary. They're not like endorsements of anybody, but I'm more of the like, I just want to see what something different looks like. In that realm. So I'm with you. If I had to keep one, I think that's my consensus is probably similar to yours. I'm more convicted in the boot there probably than the run or the pass.
Either something different doesn't mean better. That's the thing. I think that's kind of the fear that Mike Brown is operating under, is if you make changes, it doesn't mean it's going to get better. It could get a whole lot worse. And the rebuild, you could be further away from where you want to be than you currently are right now, even though you feel pretty far away right now.
Yeah. I mean, a full start over has a lot of, no one's going to come in and be like, I want to play with their guys. No, everybody shows up and wants their guys. Right. And so you're starting over, and maybe people are like, yes, start over, please. But there are pieces in place here that are likable, that people want. And so, yes, you don't know. You got to be careful in terms of what 2026 looks like. Does it get worse before it gets better? And does that even matter to anybody? I don't know. These are all questions everybody has to come to grips with. There's certainly plenty of examples this year of places that have made significant changes and had immediate success. See New England, right? Mike Vrabel comes in and they're enjoying success. Sean Payton in Denver has come in and they have quickly gotten back to success, but it didn't happen immediately. They had some hiccups in there early on too. There's examples of some that work, and there's examples of some that don't. How deep of a rebuild would somebody coming in here view this as? Or would it just be, no, I'm just going to pick up with Joe Burrow and it's going to roll? These are all questions that we probably won't have to worry about actually answering.
Yeah.
So, but on that note, look, the folks at Camargo are great. Josh is the best. You can get a no obligation quote to make sure that you have insurance you trust for yourself or your small business. Just contact Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. All right, before we get to Mo, I do want to give a chance for you guys to hear from my friends, our good friends, and one that you know really well over at Power Stacks.
All right, Chaz, we always say let's get right to it. This is Power Stacks. Charlie Goldsmith, Brian Giesenslaw, entering year 2 of what we think is the best, most enjoyable, most well-sourced, and deeply reported Reds podcast on the market. We'd like you to join the show. And if you have a business, Charlie, and I know you're plugged into the business community, we'd like those people to join us as well and partner with our show. You can get in touch. PowerStacksPod@gmail. PowerStacksPod@gmail. Chaz, how would you pitch the fun and the value of the show we do a couple of times a week every baseball season?
Well, let's just say as we're recording this right now, I'm here recording this from Orlando at the MLB GM meetings, where I can tell you a league source not with the Reds told me that Brian Giesenslaw is the best co-host I could possibly ask for. That's a true story. Happened in the lobby yesterday, and it's a fun, thrilling, exciting, passionate, loyal community that we get to be a part of here, following the Reds every single day.
I'll hit the bell for that, and I'll also share, since we're sharing compliments, rising media star across a multitude of media outlets. That's Charlie Goldsmith. We do it on Power Stacks, and we'd love for you to join us. Hit us up at PowerStacksPod gmail.com. And we look forward to seeing you as the Reds head into spring training and a new season at Great American Ballpark.
Charlie is a media mogul, and I can attest. You can attest if you just follow us, because Rewatch is just up from yesterday. You had rewatch of us talking about everything that went down in the game against the Ravens on Sunday. So you go check out rewatch, and of course, you hear Charlie on here all the time. We're going to have plenty of off-season takes to fire off here. You can hear him on the Gold Standard with our friends on Fox 19. I know you're reading Charlie's chalkboard, but definitely hit up Power Stacks. Reds, they're in the offseason, and you wanted Schwarber, but they haven't broken your heart yet. They haven't played a game in a little bit. They went to the playoffs last year. Okay. So get on board. Power Stacks growing in year 2. So hit them up. Meanwhile, Jay, you had a dentist appointment this morning.
I did.
So Mo and I went without you. I'm glad. First of all, everything okay with your teeth?
Oh yeah. No cavities. They were very complimentary of my home care. Always good to hear. So yeah, it was a nice appointment.
It's all you want. You just want someone who's complimentary at your home.
Pat on the back.
Beautiful. Yeah. Glad to hear that. All right, let's get to my conversation with Mo, and then Jay and I will be back for all the categories after that. All right, now that we have covered the news of the day, I think it's time for us to dive a little bit more into it. And that means bringing in my good friend and yours, Mo Egger. Mo, how are we doing?
Wonderful. Everything is going great. It's awesome to be with you.
Yeah, it must be a great time to host a talk show about Cincinnati sports, because as we know, fandom and sports talk radio about that fandom, it is really driven in anger, right? Like that's really the foundational emotion that really lights up the lines. It gets people calling. People want to hear their voices more so than in the good times. Nobody calls the radio show to say how happy they are. So really, Cincinnati sports has never been better to host a talk show, right?
We had a show last week where there were 3 people waiting on hold before the show started. Like not even reacting to anything I had to say, not even interested, and you can't blame them in anything I had to say. Maybe what I had to say was so predictable. They're like, I can be proactive and jump in. I love my job. You know how much I love my job. I love the fact that I have a job in broadcasting where I get to talk about things that in the grand scheme of life are wholly unimportant. And we try to make every single day fun. This is a blast. This is a great way to make a living. It beats having a real job. So let me get that part out of the way. But over the last week and a half or so, I have had 8 to 10 people say to me, like, I don't want your job, or I don't know how you do it. And again, the way you do it is you show up and you have fun with it. Because how do you not? And offer, from my perspective of a fan, what you believe is fair commentary and give people a chance. But I think the foundation of what we do has often been based on hope. Like there's always something else to turn the page to. It doesn't feel that way right now, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't. Just the cliche is like when the Bengals are done, well, pitchers and catchers report. That's not providing a lot of hope on the horizon right now. Or, hey, let's dive into college basketball. And nothing against Xavier's recent surge, but Bearcat fans are salty, and understandably so. Like there's not that like next thing that there usually is. And I think that has people reacting differently, and it's made the job. It's certainly not made the job difficult, man. I will never complain about having the job that I have. I'm really lucky, but it's different. And I have wondered what the next few months are going to look and sound like.
Yeah. And that's where I want to go here. Like, okay, so, like I wrote today, I mean, the most likely scenario here is that the, Duke Tobin, Zac Taylor, and Al Golden, a combination, are going to be back. There's still variables to play out here over the last 3 weeks, right? But like that's where everything is trending, and Duke is going nowhere. We've talked at length about some of these topics in the past and the cracking of the foundation and stuff. But I'm curious, like, what for you that news, or if it is even news, or that concept, what emotion does that bring out? I see anger out there, obviously. Like it's that's an obvious one that you see. But I'm curious because there's a scale, right? There's a scale of like numb. You mentioned hopelessness. Or is there, where on the optimism scale, like where does that land for you at this point when you consider the state of things?
So before I try to answer that, let me tell you about my morning.
Okay.
Typically, I will get up when my daughter does, and I will hear her in her room getting ready. And that's when I will catch up on stuff I might have missed overnight, look at my feed to see what's being written. And the very first thing I see is this. I started my day with this, your piece about.
I'm sorry.
And the regard that I hold you in, professionally and personally. You know this. I think you're awesome at what you do. I like took my phone and went, I can't. Now I have since I did the school drop off. I have since got a cup of coffee, had a cinnamon roll, kind of recalibrated. Okay, let's sit in, let's settle in for the knowing kind of, no offense, kind of knowing how
where it was going.
Make you feel it. So
yeah,
for the first time ever, you read something where I'm like, I will get to that later on. Yeah. That's how I started my day. So
did the cinnamon roll help?
Immensely. I'll be honest with you. The Joe Burrow thing to me trumps all.
Yeah.
The Joe Burrow thing for me right now, there is such a disconnect. It feels like there's something so off that I either look at everything through the lens of how does Joe feel about these things, or does any of this matter if the disconnect doesn't get fixed? So I've never believed the Bengals are going to fire Duke Tobin. I've never believed the Bengals are going to fire Zac Taylor. The Bengals not making wholesale changes isn't surprising. I don't really believe that they're going to punt on a defensive coordinator after year one. This, it just, as cliche as it sounds, as tired as I get of saying it and hearing it, it's just not what they do. Like, it isn't. And that may make people really mad. That may make people say they're going to abandon the franchise, but I don't know. I'm so interested right now in what's up with Joe Burrow, and it matters to me so much more. And again, these things may impact how Joe feels about his job, his employer, or whether or not he wants to stay here long term. But that's topic A right now. And it was topic A going into Sunday. And then what I watched on Sunday was, it's hard for me to even describe. Checked out. Joe Burrow looked catatonic during that game. So I'm really kind of more focused on what the hell's going on there than I am wondering about wholesale changes. I am a little bit more interested in the Duke Tobin philosophy this offseason shifting.
Yeah.
Where, and you've written about this and talked about this, when he starts to map out his plan this offseason, obviously centered around the draft, which is the centerpiece of the NFL offseason. Say what you want about free agency. Is there going to be a shift in how they prioritize the type of players they pick? We've talked about traits versus production. I'm kind of a little bit more interested in understanding Duke Tobin is probably going to be, in his current capacity, do they at all add to the department? And is there a change in how he goes about evaluating players, specifically college prospects? Does that answer your question at all?
Yeah, I think there's a sense of exasperation probably that exists with most fans over the idea of being ushered into this reality, especially fans that have never really quite been through this before. The massive swath of Burrow Bengal fans, right? That joined on to this show that aren't familiar with the Marvin Lewis era and what it felt like, and in the 90s and what that felt like, and some of the, the fact that continuity and is the name of everything, like that. Having patience and is what 100% they do, and what defines them as an ownership group, along with losing. You know what I mean? Like that, if you go back through 90s, and I mean, if you go back through the history, like there hasn't been enough winning, and they haven't won a Super Bowl, and they've had these patches, but haven't been able to really totally sustain. And so this is, when you talk about, you'd have to do a class, right? On, you'd have a whole week dedicated to the press conference with Mike and Marvin in 2010. Like these things have, like the patience, and not going to be making knee-jerk reactions, going to believe in the people that they have. I mean, even just keeping Zac Taylor after 6-25-1 the first 2 years is an example in recent memory of believing in the people that they have. So there's a history here of this is who they are, and they're not changing. And so I understand the feeling of helplessness that comes along with that, when you just want to have something to cling on to believe that it will be different. But there's just, the this is who they are thing, I know is hard to swallow, but this, seeing the path for the people that they brought in to do the job is constantly at the top of the list, feeling like they're giving them the full chance and the full opportunity. It's throughout the history of this ownership.
It is. And, I've talked to younger fans, and I've said, like, this is just, some things about the Bengals have changed, right? There's a ring of honor and there's new uniforms. The basic tenets of the organization, I mean, it's true, but the basic sort of, and there have been ways that they've embraced free agency, building the 2021 team. That counts. That matters. But I think the core tenets of the organization's foundation haven't changed. Continuity, loyalty to a degree, not making knee-jerk decisions, a lot of just self-trust, trust in the people they have in their building. Like it was the case when I was a kid. It was a case predating Paul Brown's death. Like the late, great Bob Trumpy, we've talked about him a lot in recent weeks, wrote a book about this 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I try to tell people who are newer to the party, first of all, welcome. Whether it's you're new to the party because of age or the Burrow thing got you to jump on board, awesome, great to have you. Here's how this franchise operates. Right, wrong, indifferent. You may see small changes. You're not going to see a dramatic philosophical shift. And by the way, it's as a talk radio host, it's very limiting, because I would love to talk about, like, who are some interesting people working in NFL front offices that might make sense. That'd be fun to talk about. Like, I'd love to get guests on from other NFL cities and go, hey, tell me about this guy who's climbing the NFL ladder and why, some look at him as a potential GM one day. I'd love to do that. I'd love to do, like, legitimate, like, all right, in this cycle where it doesn't feel like there's one or two, like, obvious guys, like, who are the legitimate coaching candidates? Would Jesse Minter make sense for the Cincinnati Bengals? I can't. So as a host, man, I'd love to be able to do that. The way the Bengals operate is limiting. As a fan, I just understand. I just understand how they operate. And while there have been changes in how they do a lot of things, I've never believed there's going to be this dramatic philosophical shift where the Bengals become a franchise that reacts to one season or reacts to one thing or blows it up or changes, wholeheartedly, entire departments overnight. So, you ask me emotionally how it hits me, it's I'm trying to think of a good comparison here, but as good as your piece was, that to me sort of like, for hopefully your readers, kind of cemented like, hey, don't expect wholesale changes. I read it and was like, yep, it all makes sense. Like it's exactly what I expected to read, because I know how this franchise operates. It frustrates me to no end at times. But this is who they are. And it's always been who they've been. And I think the one thing for a lot of folks, and I'll try to say this in the most delicate way possible, I think there's been this belief that with Mike Brown getting older, that was going to usher in this entirely different way of doing things. And no, that's not the case. I mean, it'd
be the opposite, right? Like,
yeah.
If you've ever going to be more resolute and I'm doing it my way, it's going to be when you get older and say, what do I got? What do I care? I'm doing it the way that I want to do it. It's my team. I'm 90 years old. Like, why would I change what I believe now? Like that, that doesn't, it's not that he's never believed that this is the way that can win. And I think that, I think he has the dedication and leadership. I don't know if leadership is the word that would probably hit people the wrong way of what I'm trying to say, but it's not a lack of seeing a vision or giving his people an opportunity. To me,
right.
it's everything that's happening in the execution around him. But whether we talk about scouting staff, whether we talk about inability to be involved in free agency, whether we talk about contract squabbles, whether we talk about like all of these things that we have filled the airwaves and column space with forever. Like, to me, that is so much of what this is about, is just the execution of everything that's happening is just falling all over itself right now.
Yeah. And Joe Burrow's presence or arrival in Cincinnati gave the Bengals an opportunity to rebrand, and they kind of did. But just because they rebranded doesn't mean the nuts and bolts of the organization and the core, values, the core tenets of the organization were going to change. And I think for a lot of folks, maybe that's been illuminating, where, just because they got Joe Burrow and just because, again, they have embraced more modern ways of roster building. That is undeniable. What they do in free agency is dramatically different than the way they used to do things, to their credit. But there was a rebrand and the Bengals were cool. Joe Burrow's cool. That doesn't mean that the Bengals were suddenly going to become the LA Rams.
Yeah. No.
I don't know if that's the best comparison, but it doesn't mean the Bengals were suddenly overnight going to become the Philadelphia Eagles. It just, so I get that that's frustrating. And I think the pushback, the public pushback is going to be really interesting, because there have been these seasons where you've watched people just go, I'm done. Now, how far they stay away is, varies, but the offseason 2011, man, like we saw it. And within 3 years, everybody was back. We saw it 17, 18, 19. Everybody's done. And then, wait a minute, they're going to get the dude from LSU. Okay, I'm back. So I think there's going to be a large jumping of the ship this offseason from a lot of folks. It will be interesting to see how they come back, when they come back, what makes them come back, or which ones don't come back, regardless of whatever success the team may have moving forward.
Yeah, I think the question, and, again, for history lessons here, when you go back to when they kept Marvin Lewis after the Carson Palmer thing in 2010 and all of that, it was dubbed the reboot, right? Like, it was, okay, Marvin's still here, but he's doing things differently and he's changing out. And Jay Gruden came in and they went in with Andy and AJ and there was a philosophy shift and a rededication to, I guess, culture, whatever you want to call it, after the T.O. Ocho show debacle and all of that. Like, and it changed the dynamic of how they operated. They seemed like they had made a coaching change, even though they kept the same. And I think there is probably an idea in that, okay, let's refocus on what has gone wrong and attack it more clearly, more aggressively, not flub this up this time, and have maybe a different approach with the same people. Can be it where, now, believe it when you see it on that one, right? I mean, we heard these words last year that it's not going to be the same team for more money. Like we're going to have an aggressive approach to fixing this. And it wasn't, I mean, it just wasn't. So the idea is going to be, okay, an aggressive 2020, 2021 approach to fixing the defense with free agency, with the draft, and hoping that some continuity of understanding what Al Golden wants will be more in place now, less gray, maybe in the first offseason that it appears existed in their evaluation of what to do with his arrival can be part of the answer. And then the offense being currently in place the way that it is, still having Joe Burrow happy, again, line A in this one that can't be avoided, is the answer. Like I am. Don't kill the messenger. I'm just saying, like, this is the internal philosophy, I think, in saying they winning next year is where they're going to be, right? Like, it's going to be about winning next year. And if they feel like this group and everything I kind of laid out is the best way to win next year, they're not going to not do that because they feel like everyone is going to be out and have wanted changed. It's just that's not going to be something that they're going to be affected by.
I guess to a degree what I wonder, and what I would imagine a lot of folks wonder, is, you referenced in your piece this morning data points. There are 3 more.
Yes. Yes.
From a mathematical standpoint, these games don't matter at all. I am really interested in Sunday's game because I want to see if it looks like it did this past Sunday. Like, it's hard. You could look at the box score and go, wow, Bengals didn't show up. You had to have watched that game, I think, to really appreciate or understand how bad that was. That was, I said with Tony Pike yesterday, I've watched every game that Zac Taylor has coached in Cincinnati. There have been moments where I thought, all right, some dudes are making business decisions. I've never seen them look comatose. I've never seen them look checked out. The way they were playing offense in the third and fourth quarter yesterday was striking. If that repeats itself multiple times here in games that don't matter, does that at all, and I think I know the answer, but does that at all change the thinking about Zach in particular, but maybe other coaches as well? Because I know I've said this to you a million times, like, say which one about Zac Taylor. I've never felt like his team has not played hard, hasn't cared about winning, hasn't, given its all. I've never felt like his teams have looked woefully unprepared. What that was on Sunday, that was broken. Like there is, you watch that. You didn't even need to hear Joe Burrow's or watch Joe Burrow's body language on Wednesday or listen to his press conference comments. You watch that. If you knew anything about the personnel they have and who the quarterback is, like, you watch that, you're like, something's up. There is something up here. So if it looks like it did this Sunday, and then maybe again and again, do those combined data points make somebody go, okay, we have more than just a bad team that's lost too many games? And so we're going to look at this a little bit different than we have during other periods where the coach has been unpopular and hasn't been winning.
Yeah. That's why, again, I mean, you can have things that can change over the final 3 weeks of the season. And typically around here, that's been for the better for the people that are coaching the team. They've had this send them home happy thing that's gone on for a long time. And you've seen, right, that be what has saved people. I mean, let's go back to Marvin Lewis, which we mentioned, and getting the 2018 season for him was largely because of what happened in the last 3 weeks and winning a couple of games that really didn't matter. And that goes back to Dave Shula. That goes back to a lot of people that haven't had success here. And so that, things obviously can change, but with them being eliminated, it was, okay, let's take a temperature of where this is at. And where it's at is right now is a belief of trending towards, everybody coming back there. Mike likes having the whole puzzle, but it doesn't mean they don't still talk every week. So you don't still, everybody, they're meeting every week. It's not like there's silence all year long. He's at every practice in a cart. They meet every week. There's not like there's going to be some surprising revelation that's going to come out other than, hey, let's lay out what your objective is in the bigger picture here that happens at the end of the season. And that can bring a variable in, certainly, with whatever the discussion about this defense and the blame is. But for the most part, I think, it's pretty easy to see that the data points would have to be 3 more that were just as dramatic as what we saw on Sunday.
And by the way, you referenced the end of year surge, which makes the Bengals feel like they're going in the right direction. The often celebrated 2017 New Year's Eve, Andy Dalton knocks the Ravens out of the postseason, and Buffalo Bills fans donate to his foundation. I've had multiple people tell me Mike Brown sat on the bus after that game and was like, we're not that far away. And Marvin came back.
Yes.
And if they lose that game, does Marvin still come back? I guess maybe, but our reaction to all of that was, well, they knocked the Ravens out of the postseason, and Bills fans are doing something pretty cool. Also, I think Marvin's coming back. I think that's probably good. And it was. So
and it did.
But I think these last 3 weeks are going to be really, really, again, it was so profoundly bad. I've watched the Bengals lose dozens and dozens and dozens of games in my life. I haven't seen many performances like that in a game where you would assume some degree of urgency to win against a team you just beat in your building with snow on the seats, and that's how they looked.
Yeah.
If that continues, I think it's going to be really interesting to see how fans react, and I think it'll be interesting to see if at all that changes how the family views folks who are currently in place.
Yeah. Mo, I appreciate it. We can dive further into this fun topic this afternoon from 3 to 4 at Oakley Greens. I look forward to it. It's very festive in there. So we can think about the holiday season, about the joy and the blessings of Christmas and giving and receiving of gifts. That should cheer everybody up a little bit, right? Christmas is right around the corner.
Christmas is right around the corner. I do plan on attending the last 2 home games. I don't know what the weather is going to be, but in my stocking, I think is going to be one of those brushes that you knock off snow from your windshield.
Are you allowed, when you're in the 1 hour line to get through the 3 gates that are open, are you allowed to get an ice scraper through, or is that considered a weapon that you can't get through?
I don't know. Can I say something briefly on this podcast about some of the issues on Sunday? First of all, because I've joked about this on social media, and I talked about it a little bit on my show. I devoted one segment. Some of what the Bengals dealt with on Sunday, I'm kind of willing to excuse. Not letting fans bring in cardboard. I went to the AFC Championship game in Kansas City. They wouldn't let us bring in cardboard. I don't think that's, maybe they should. I would agree that they should, but they're far from the only one. I think the issues caused by the getting in the stadium, I think it was staffing and technological, but I also feel like it was kind of the perfect storm of people didn't tailgate, and when they did tailgate, they're like, man, F this, let's go inside. And so not excusing the Bengals here, but I think that was a really unfortunate perfect storm of events. I'll also say this, I, as a season ticket holder, somebody who sits in the stands, I think Bengals fan relations is really good. I think they've made the game day experience great. I've watched people who work at the stadium go out of their way to help people who maybe don't know where they're going, that sort of thing. I think they're really good at that. The not knocking the snow off the seats was, to me, just a missed opportunity to show that you're going to go above and beyond for your customers. And if you're not willing to go above and beyond for your customers, there's a part of me that thinks they're kind of taking them for granted. And I think in business, a general rule is never take your customers for granted. That's all I have to say.
I love that. I thought your tweet afterwards about, being like, maybe they did do the bare minimum, but missing an opportunity to go above and beyond is very notable. And I think that's really kind of where what it probably more comes back to, is that there was a chance to do that on a day where you had hours. The storm ended the previous night. Like, you had all morning to at least make an effort, right? Like, maybe you won't get to all of them. Maybe
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of seats, man. But but do your best to get to as many as you can. Have people in there with bring in some scrapers, whatever. Have as many people as you can have on deck, scraping off as many seats as you possibly can. I understand it's hard, man, and I get it. But like, there was an opportunity there to do something beyond the bare minimum and do your best. I think the effort would have been appreciated if it felt like there was more of one in that regard. That's all.
Yeah, somebody, and I don't know who it is, but somebody on Saturday afternoon / evening could have started the text thread and said, "Hey, look, we have a lot going on tomorrow. Let's try to knock as much snow off the seats as we can, and just show some effort." And could we have done all 65,000? Maybe not. But like, my thing on social media was they probably were compliant with the NFL. And I don't think anybody's safety was compromised. I don't think anybody who went to the game was put in harm's way. And I've heard, folks have said to me, "Look, I went to the game and just knocked the snow off my seats." That's cool. But like, isn't it nice to have somebody do that for you? Like, isn't it, wouldn't have been, what would you have rather walked up to? A seat covered in snow and ice that you might have to chip off, or a seat that's been cleared? The answer is I'd rather walk up to a seat that's been cleared. And I would have said, like, "Hey, man, that's kind of cool." Right. So there was nothing nefarious. I certainly do believe that the Bengals had a good team this year. People would care less about this. It's one more reason for people to wail away. And when people are wailing away at you, don't give them another reason. And the Bengals did. But I don't gratuitously, crush the Bengals. In fact, I try to go out of my way to talk about, like, hey, at the games, it's a pleasant experience. They're awesome, by the way, at least where I sit, policing fan behavior. You're not going to be a jerk where I sit. Like, they're good. They're good at a lot of, like, fan initiatives, really good. They've gotten so much better, a ton better. In this particular isolated incident, they missed an opportunity. And unfortunately, missing that opportunity feeds into the perception that the Bengals don't care that much about their customers. I don't believe that perception is based on reality, based on my experience as a customer. And I didn't go to the game on Sunday. I watched a much, much more competitive third grade girls basketball game. But I just think it would have been cool had somebody said, "You know what, let's see if we can knock off as much snow from these seats as possible." And had they done half the stadium, I'm sure some would have grumbled, but at least that would have been tangible evidence of an effort that went above and beyond. And I will always give someone credit for going above and beyond. This was a missed opportunity to gain a shred of goodwill for going above and beyond.
Yes. Just something that made and then it makes it feel 20 times worse when the team plays like it does on the field. And that's all part of it. All right, Mo, appreciate it. I thank you for your time, and I will see you this afternoon at Oakley Greens.
I can't wait. See you, man.
Okay. Always great catching up with Mo, especially, from a fan perspective. Always enjoy hearing that about what the fan experience is like. Good, rational thoughts on what happened with Snowgate. I always hate gating things. I don't know. I don't feel good about it, but with the snow situation, shall we say?
It was kind of gate.
Yeah, gate. Oh, there was a little bit of a gate in there. You're right.
Yeah,
didn't think about that gate. I like that. Jay, you got some stats for me?
I do. It's meaningless football stats. I mean, this is what everybody's here for, right? When do you think the last time in Bengals history was that none of the 3 final games of the season had any playoff bearings on either team?
Has this ever happened before? This has to have happened before.
It has happened.
Yeah, how many times?
Well, I don't know how many times. I just went to the last time it happened.
Oh.
This might be the only time, because it is rare. And it's kind of a harbinger of things that were to come, because this was Mike Brown's first hire as a head coach. It was the Dave Shula era, 1993. The Bengals were 1-12, clearly out of it. Everybody knew David Shula wasn't the guy at that point. And the final 3 games of the season, they played the 4-9 Rams and beat some guy named TJ Rubley, who was the quarterback at the time of the Rams. And the following week, they beat the 6-8 Falcons with Bobby Hebert as the quarterback. And then in week 17, they beat the 7-8 New Orleans Saints, who had already been eliminated. So they went 2-1 down the stretch. I guess that was enough to save Dave Shula's job. He comes back for a few more years, but pretty crazy that 32 years it's been since that. There's always something. Somebody's playing either to lock up a number 1 seed or to get into the wild card. Or just really odd that none of these 3 games mean anything, or do they? I've got another stat to build on this. We have a battle royale brewing in week 17 between the 2 leading punters in the league. Ryan Rico was the leading punter in the league in average going into last week. He didn't have a great week. Arizona's Blake Gilkin passed him. So Gilkin is now at 51.7. Rico is at 51.3. So those 2 will go head-to-head in week 17. If you're looking for something to watch in week 17, Bengals v. Cardinals, the punter battle. It's been a long time. 1981. The last time a Bengals punter led the league in average. That was Pat McAnally in the Super Bowl season. The only other time it happened in franchise history, Dave Lewis led the NFL in punting in 1970. So there's something to play for here.
There you go. And I like the idea that gross punting average will get you to a super. Like, that really should be what should show you that you can win games. It's really amazing they haven't won more when you consider that Rico has had this gross punting average. Where does he rank in the net? Is what that's
he's 13th. He's 13th in net. He has 11 touchbacks. That is the most. That's tied for most in the league. I went all the way back. They started keeping track of touchbacks in 1991. So highest percentage of punts that ended in touchbacks, because Rico's only got 54 punts this year. So 11 of 54, he's at 20.3%. That is 10th all time. But it's still not a Bengals record. Lee Johnson had 17 touchbacks on 79 punts in 1996 for 21.5%. The NFL record is Craig Hentrick by the Packers in 1990, or for the Packers in 1997. 75 punts, 21 touchbacks. So 28% of his punts were touchbacks. That's not good.
We're so deep in the weeds at this point. We're into historical punting sad stats. I mean, this is really where you thrive. I mean, these are the special moments, Jay. This is where you earn it.
I do think it's been an impressive year for Rico. He needs to work on his touch, obviously, but he's got a heck of a leg. And something that hasn't happened since 1981, and he's got a real chance to do it. It's worth tracking over the final 3 weeks.
Yeah, needs to work on his touch. Very much punting understatement of the year. All right, let's get into Growler Bet. We've got some Growler Bet here. So we have from this Sunday, the Growler Bet was Derrick Henry rushing yards. Derrick Henry ended up with 100 yards right on the button, largely because the Ravens hardly had the ball in the second half with a chance to let him run it up. So there was no real reason to. I mean, only needed 11 carries to get to 100 yards. 9.1 a lug, not bad for Derrick. No winners. It was just too clean of a number. No one even wanted to touch it. No one was getting right near that 100. Now, there was a winner, though, technically. It was me over you. I had 94. You had 118, so winner for me. I do want to give a shout-out to a few quality subjects as we get into, we had the Festivus thing going on. We've got Christmas going on. There's a lot of good thing. The end of a season being on deck. Like there's a lot of good stuff kind of circulating for people to play off of, and you did. So I credit you. Daniel B offered up, a Seinfeld one for me. Growlers come in different sizes. You got the A, B, C, and D. That's the biggest. I know D is the biggest. I've based my whole life on knowing the D is the biggest, which is good. Good one. I appreciate that from the man's ear. Paul Grego with the season's not over till you pin me, Derrick Henry. A good Festivus reference. I appreciate that. Jana Dorton, who we saw at the live show, was excellent at the live show, blaming her husband for her grievance. Said, take a look around you, Ellen. We're at the threshold of hell. from Clark Griswold. I feel like Bengals fans are living that one today. Hallelujah. Where's the Tylenol? Andy Colino with it's beginning to look a lot like Cancun. Hashtag Growler Bet. Yeah, liked that one a lot. And the legend Ray White. The Reds' pursuit of the Growler Bet is due to their belief that it would drive ticket sales. So appreciate that. Crossing over. I love when we cross over.
Yeah.
To different places. Ray White, send your next submission over to our good friends at Power Stacks as well. All right. So there is thanks everybody for getting in on the Growler Bet. We will have another one, of course, for the game in Miami this weekend. Check out the prediction video later in the week for that. Do you have any Arby's for me?
I do. So I mentioned I don't know if I guess it's technically Bengals related because it helps me do my job covering the Bengals, but I need help from people out there. I talked about how fun it was looking at X today and all the reactions to your story. For some, I have X Pro, and it's like the old tweet deck. And for some reason, all of a sudden, you're dealing with it too.
I fixed it. I can help you.
Okay, then carry on. Never mind, people. Paul's going to help me. I need help because it's no longer chronological.
Yes. It's like it doesn't even work. You might as well just shoot it into the sun. There's no reason to have it. It doesn't do anything.
It does me no good to see tweets from December 14th as opposed to what's happening right now.
Yes. The key for anybody that deals with this with TweetDeck is to go in and you actually have to essentially do a search within there. And if you do it as a search with nothing in the search box, it brings up the ability to click on latest. And you just leave it as an empty search box and latest, and you will get all the latest instead of stuff from weeks ago and not know what the hell is going on. Just continues to be a great operation over there. Continues to be a great operation. I do want to talk about a great operation, and that is you guys. Those of you that showed up. We've talked about it. We talked about it on the walkout. I am just in awe of all of you that showed up to our live show on Sunday. It was incredible to see so many people dig out, come out in the cold temps, hang out with us, fill that room, and air your grievances. Everybody had grievances to air. They came prepared. But nobody to me earned it more than Andrew Hauser. And here's what Andrew Hauser did. So on Saturday, after we had talked about doing the Festivus thing and everyone show up and air grievances was going to be what we were going to do, he had reached out. Now, Andrew owns Simpson Fence, which it's kind of up north of Cincinnati. They serve kind of Cincinnati and Dayton. They do residential and commercial fencing. They've been doing it for over 50 years. Shout out to Simpson Fence and Andrew Hauser. But he has poles. And he says, look, if you want to air grievance, you need a real pole. I've got one. And I had stuff going on Friday and Saturday. I'd missed some emails from saying it. Well, it turned into Saturday afternoon, and the storm was starting. The snow was kicking up good. And he's like, I'm getting you this pole. I live in Anderson. I will drive it to Oakley. He came all the way to Oakley, brought the pole, and it was legit. It was great to see people like using it, getting a good hold on a real pole. It made it feel authentic airing of the grievances. And so I just got to say the next level that someone would go to drive through a snowstorm across Cincinnati just so we could have a pole for proper grievance airing at our Festivus show was maybe the most Graeter's worthy thing that's ever happened. And I just want Andrew to get a proper shout out for what he did, the next level effort to do that. He's also the person that sent us the information about saying that there's no coats or anything like that on the Princeton sideline is false. I was at Princeton. I played there. We had all of that. So wants to make sure that there is accusations and controversy in that one as well. So shout out to Andrew. Graeter's worthy. The shipper is showing up at your front door. 6 pints of deliciousness from our good friends because you've earned it. The most Graeter's worthy thing ever.
He went the extra mile, and I was more like the Bengals doing the bare minimum because I had an idea. You had your hands full. You brought all those prizes in to BetMGM and Tom's Watch Bar to lay them out to give away, but you had to go back to your car to get the poll. And I was like, oh, I should go get a picture of Paul walking down the street of Cincinnati with this giant pole. And I was like, no, it's 2 degrees. I'm not going outside to take a picture. And now I wish I would have, because it was, I saw you walking past the window I carried the pole back to your car. It was massive. And people were probably like, what in the hell is going on there? And you went the extra mile. You walked all the way down to the river to get video of the steaming river, which was a really cool shot. And again, I had no interest in going outside any longer than I needed to.
I was embracing the weather. You know what? I was in for it. I was ready to do it. I was like, I guess the Ravens on Sunday. Ready. I was like, let's play. Let's get out there. So it was fun. And you guys were great. All the grievances that were aired, grievances about the mayor, people's wives, their husbands, everyone in the UC athletic office. Someone politely inquired if it was okay to unleash on the team across the street and then did about the Reds. Scouting department took shots.
Zach,
obviously the head coach did. He was called a number of names. The scouting people, Duke, you name it. Everybody had grievances aired about them, and all of you that showed up came prepared, and were fantastic doing it. Tip of the hat to all of you. It was certainly really cool to see everybody come out. So thanks to everybody that did come out to BetMGM. And if you have anything that you're ever doing down there and you're looking for a place to hang out before BetMGM, Tom's Watch Bar, a great place to go watch any game, a million TVs all over the place. And we certainly love them having us all season long, and we'll be back there before the Arizona game. So hope to see you guys again. All right. Thanks everybody for watching and for listening. I apologize for all of it. I didn't mean to do anything, just doing my job. But anyway, we'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.